Razor Tongue.
Ever so focused. Sometimes niggas ever so hopeless. Trying times niggas walk with your head up. Have some leverage in your life, get your bread up. The pavement never gave you that retirement, and niggas sacrificed surviving that environment. First sack, first racks gave a nigga hope, and business skills acquired from a selling dope.
Hello, lovers of hip hop and good music everywhere. Shao Sosa, and you're locked into Razor Tongue Media and our interview series on the Blade. Our guest today has been in the game longer than any active or inactive artist in the Northwest scene, and really the whole independent hip hop scene as a whole. About 10 times as long as every other rapper's entire career. He has a new album out called Failure is the Feeling, and a weed brand we're going to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to sit with the legendary Terry Flint, the rap hustler, aka Cool Nutz. Man, how are you?
I'm good. What's happening with you, bro?
Oh man, just doing it, staying hard at work, just like you, trying to keep busy.
Yeah.
And keep adapting to COVID life. But anyways, let's get right to it, man. You've been in the game a long time, man, and have been an icon in the scene for longer than many people understand. 1993, you dropped your maxi single, This Guy Nutz, on cassette.
Yeah.
You're 21 years old, repping a city that is not really well known for any hip hop. Did you ever imagine you'd be sitting here almost 30 years later, an icon of the region, a fixture in the independent hip hop scene, and still putting out dope material?
No, not really, because as we got into the music, it was more organically. We were doing music because we loved it, not because, there was no blueprint to where it could go, like, especially for Portland outside of like U Crew. So it was one of those things where all the music we were doing, we were doing it just because we loved it, because it was a passion thing, because I like rhyming, I like everything about the culture. So there was no barometer of like, okay, I'm gonna be this legend, or people are gonna call me. I don't want to say. I would say people are gonna call me a legend, because I take that as the validation. Other people say, "Oh, you a legend," or you an ambassador, or you a OG. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Versus myself, I'm an OG.
Yeah. You don't hear too many cats have to say that about themselves if they are. It's usually the ones that aren't, that feel like they got to repeat it.
Exactly.
Sidestepping just a second, something I never noticed when I was preparing for this interview, and all our years of knowing each other. That first maxi single was on a label out of LA called Nutty Block Records. Who was at that label, and how did you get hooked up with them?
The crazy thing, bro, about that, that was really just family before we called it Just Family.
Okay.
Because it was because of Cool Nutz Nutty Block Records. So we just called it that. Like, we didn't, and of course you go now, you think like, oh shit, there's a gang, Nutty Block.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But at the time it was more like Nutty Block Records, because it was more so Cool Nutz, you know what I mean?
Cool Nutty, I got it. Okay.
Yeah, and then it evolved into Just Family, because we looked at everybody that we worked with was just like family. Me and Bosco, G-ism, Kenny Mac, Maniac, just family. So everybody part of the label was just like family.
Absolutely. Now, I wanted that leads right to the next question, man. Can you talk about how you launched Just Family and like the official, and how your own record deal enabled you to do that?
There was a point where me and Bosco were making music, and we kind of came to a point where we were like, was this gonna be a hobby, or is this gonna be something that we take serious? And so we were like, man, we need to take it serious. We were starting to see what cats in the Bay were doing. We were starting to see what people across the country were doing. And that's how essentially that whole, like when you say Nutty Block Records, that's where that came from, was like us embarking on the recording part of it. And then from there, we put out those first records. The first record was This Nigga's Nuts. Then the second one was the single Player Vision and No Toes, which that essentially catapulted me into like the category of like a real taken for serious artists, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because No Toes was a dedication of my brother who had passed away. Player Vision was like, you know, like what would be the single, and people started to take it serious and really like the music. And then that was the first essential release on Just Family Records. Then from there, you know, I met Ray Ray, and before Gism was even formed, I met Ray Ray. We started spending a lot of time together. He was rhyming. We just started cultivating his talents, cultivating what he was doing. Then Young Rand came along. Then Gism was formed. You know what I mean? Then Kenny Mack came along. Kenny Mack became a part of the machine. Then you know, of course, Monkey Mike, Maniac Low. And so that's how the label itself of what you heard from which became the major contributors of Harsh Game. You know what I'm saying? Harsh Game I look at is essentially my chronic. That was our chronic. And the way I say it's our chronic is because, you know, Gism had their own songs on there. Kenny Mack had his own song. Monkey Mike had his own song. Then you had Lifesavers. You had Maniac. You had who else was on there? I think that might have been it. And Bosco, of course, was on there.
Yeah.
Yuck Mouth. That was, you know, Yuck Mouth was on there.
Of course.
And so that was the first official, like those were the first official releases and building steps. But also Harsh Game came about from me being in a record deal with Atlantic and getting out of that deal and taking what I had been working on and even like the finances and putting that into Harsh Game, which became the breakout record.
Yeah. So almost 30 years later, 3 decades, what has changed for yourself, Northwest hip hop, indie hip hop as a whole, and what is still the same? There's a lot that's different. There's a lot still the same, probably.
I think what's different is how organic and genuine everything was, how it was for the love. Like, I feel like even like how we ended up meeting each other, like going out to Tri-Cities,
yeah,
seeing what you guys were doing out there, meeting Pork and or cats, because a lot of that even came from people because I knew once I put out Harsh Game, it started spreading everywhere through the Northwest, and then other people start hearing it and seeing it and reaching out and, you know, and bringing me for shows, and then I would meet people like you, and then we would build and do shows and other, you know what I mean, and you know, and that was all organic. It was fun. It was genuine. It was based off of like you guys were pushing, I was pushing. I could go to a city, and even though like a lot of times cats would look at me like, oh, that's Cool Nutz, the rapper from Portland, and his album is, and granted the album was doing great things, but I would go to other cities and then also see what y'all was doing, or see what Certified was doing in Spokane, or you know what I mean, or cats in Seattle, and then building with people like that. Like I feel like, and then you know, like being able to go to a city with your merch and CDs and put it in record stores and put up your posters and your flyers and get a response, and then get the call back like from the record store, we sold out. Those were the building blocks of like true organic hard work and the grind, that I feel like that part is not there no more. It's shifted towards more online, you know, social media marketing and Spotify and YouTube and Facebook ads and all of this stuff that that you didn't have to apply a certain level of the grind. You didn't have to get up and jump in a minivan and push 6 hours, and you know what I mean, and find a little hotel and work hard. I feel like those are some of the things that have changed. Some of the stuff that has stayed the same. I think one of the things that stayed the same is maybe the talent level, the artists around the region, of how many dope artists there are from the Northwest that tend to not get recognized on a national scale. I feel like that's probably a lot of the main thing that's kind of stayed the same, but a lot of stuff has changed. The industry's changed. The way you push your music has changed. The way people digest music has changed.
Absolutely. The Northwest still hasn't popped like it probably should have. Um,
Yeah.
but one thing is though, is you've had continued success over the years, man, and you've had to improvise and pivot when things change, and just
Uh-huh.
those strategies that you were just discussing have changed. How do you credit your continued success and your longevity, and what parts of your work ethic are like things that you think that probably the average rapper who's going to start rapping tomorrow doesn't understand?
Um, I think one of the biggest things for me is I still love it. You know what I mean? I still love writing and creating songs. I still love the feeling of being in the studio. I still love the challenge of progression in what I'm doing, like wanting to be better each time out. Because I know from where I started, like I was making good music. You know what I mean? Definitely was making good music. I've been blessed to have songs that like 30 years later, people still reference as classics or talk about. Like a lot of artists won't have that outside of Sir Mix-a-Lot, you know what I'm saying? Like where people could say, you know, 76 Nova, what I'm about, behind the scenes, punk ass niggas, you know what I mean? And though, like to this day, people could come up, man, I was bumping 76 Nova yesterday, bro. Like I remember when I first heard it and stuff like that. Like I feel like that created a platform for me to have a certain passion and love for the music. I feel like also being diplomatic and understanding how I could share my platform at times and how I could give back to other people and how I could use that to extend the visibility and presence of Portland and Northwest hip hop as a whole, like whether it was showcases or working with other artists or giving somebody a plug or, you know, plugging somebody in with a feature or whatever. Like those things I think help maintain who I am and what I've done. And also just like never feeling like I was bigger than anybody. Like normally, like because of the success of what came from my music, the perception will always be there. Oh, he, you know, he think he's doing this, or he thinks he's doing that. But I feel like sometimes being humble is a gift and a curse, because sometimes you got to be arrogant, sometimes you got to be conceited, and sometimes you got to feel yourself. But sometimes you don't want to overdo it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I feel like a lot of that mentality has kept me, because I always try to make it a point to not play myself, whether not just with music, but just in general, like how I deal with people, how I treat people with respect, or how I, you know, if something is some fuck shit, I'm gonna acknowledge it, or if it ain't right, I'm not gonna stand on the side of wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like those are the things that have kept me here, because people can say a lot of stuff, like I know a lot of stuff gets said about me, like, oh, he gatekeeper, he don't get out the way, he hold niggas back, he doing this and that. But I know I'm not doing that. And if somebody says that and they sit down with me and talk to me about it, they'll get better clarity and understanding, because it's just the perception of music and the competition, which there's always competition in this shit, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But I just feel like all of those elements help me maintain and have longevity. And also sometimes also knowing how to let other people shine. Like I feel like I've put a lot of people in positions that they never would have been in, because at times I was using what I was doing to put them in a position, and sometimes sacrificing like something I could use for myself. You know what I mean? Like something I could say, no, I'm not sharing that with you. I'm gonna keep it for myself. Or no, you're not going with me here. I'm going by myself. You know what I mean? Especially with you being a rapper, I could look at you as being competition, but I don't. I look at you as being somebody I believe in, or somebody I see your talents, and I would want to take you and expose you to other people. You know what I mean? So I feel like that is those elements are what has kept me here, because, you know, all through, whether it's Harsh Game, whether it's Verbal Porn, whether it's all of these records, like a lot of those are records where it also showcased a lot of other talent. Or when I had abilities to do features, I included my guys, or sometimes I was even giving them features, you know what I mean? Like that I could have kept for myself. But I felt like if I'm gonna rap with E40, if I'm gonna rap with Sibo, if I'm gonna rap with Yuck Mouse, if I'm gonna rap with Mr. Fab, my dudes that I work with, they should get to experience that as well.
something that loves spreading. Absolutely. One of the things we interviewed with Boom Bap Project last week, and you came up a few times, and I had mentioned that one of the things you taught me when I was real young, it was about the sacrifices needed to make it in a career in music, and about how that is so overlooked, about all the different things that you have to give up.
Yeah.
And can you speak on that and how that has impacted both your own career and your personal life?
What the sacrifice? I feel like how it sometimes impacted my career is at times I could have been more selfish. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I feel like I could have sometimes took more of the front seat and been like walking in the room like, nah, I'm Cool Nutz, or not share. Sometimes be a little more selfish. I feel like in my personal life, the music always plays a role in people's perception of you, especially if you have any type of success. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It can get in the way of your relationships with people. I know you know because you've been there with me. Like, we like, you know, man, you could talk about a lot of stuff, bro. In terms of, you know, like niggas have been through some real shit. You feel me? I've watched, you know what I mean? Like, so you know firsthand a lot of the journey, the stories, the experiences, bro, of even sharing with people that sometimes might not even deserve for you to share it with them.
Yeah.
Because they didn't appreciate it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or even people you believe in that don't understand you believe in them. Like, you know what I mean? Or people that feel like you wasn't giving me enough when they didn't realize, man, nobody else is giving you nothing of this caliber. You feel me?
Yeah.
So I feel like on a personal level, that's my biggest thing is the misconception of like at times who I am and what I feel, what I believe, and what my intentions are with certain stuff. Because the music and sometimes hip hop culture clouds certain things and can make people think things are a way that they're not, or create a false landscape even in your relationships with people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I feel like in terms of like also in my personal life, I feel like I think I've done a pretty good job of balancing being a family man, a father, and all of those things to where I understand like at times, you know, I've been on tours and stuff, but realistically at times I could have been pushing even more, like, cause I watch people like, you know, other artists, the Rick Rosses and them, and you see cats ain't never at home. You know, they're not at Disneyland with their kids. They not on a cruise with their wife. They're not you know, at the basketball games with their kids or their daughters, or teaching them how to do certain things, because they're pursuing what is your career. They're pursuing what essentially is gonna feed your children. And I've been blessed to be able to make a living to feed my family off this. So that's a huge blessing, bro, to be working for myself and creating a lane or creating something that allows me the ability to feed my family and provide for myself. So I feel like you know, a lot of those sacrifices had to be made to, one, balance it out, to be a stand-up individual. Sometimes you sacrifice what could be the perception of what an artist is or should be, to be a genuine person. You know what I mean? Or to do what's right. And then also sometimes you sacrificing your shine to give shine to other people, and things of that nature. And then trying to figure out a way to really honestly, man, make everybody happy all at the same time.
It's a tough juggling, tough to juggle all that stuff.
For real, bro. For real.
Let's get back to today, man. Let's talk the new album. The title's Failure is the Feeling. It's definitely one of your most personal albums, if not the most personal album. Can you talk about your mindset when you were putting it together, and what that title especially means?
You know, it all applies to all the stuff that we talking about. Like you were saying, bro, the sacrifice, your personal relationships, your family relationships, the business of hip hop, trying to make everybody happy, but also trying to please yourself and everything that you want. But the title, Failure is the Feeling, it applies to in those moments when in the moments when you feel like you didn't achieve certain heights, or you could have did better, or maybe you did fail in an attempt to do something, the feeling of failure motivated you to push on, to persevere, or to keep on trying, or to come back the next day. You know, like you go play basketball and you got the ball, you out there, you finally got your big shot to play with the big boys, you know, on the court with all everybody from the neighborhood, and you get that last shot and you miss it. You know, and you feel like you got to go home and stomach to feel like, damn, everybody gonna be like, oh, he got his big shot, he missed it, he failed. But you sitting at home and you like, but you know what? Tomorrow I'm coming back, and I'm back to work, and I'm not gonna fail. I'm gonna do my best. I might not be in the same position where I get that last minute shot, but I'm gonna be in a position where I'm gonna contribute every time down the court, whether it's defense, whether it's offense, whether it's a rebound, whether it's whatever. But the feeling of that failure motivated you to step up to the plate and take it, you know, and continue to press on. So that's what that album symbolizes, or the title, because I go through a lot of feelings of, like, especially being in the game this long, you got your ups and your downs, you got your hot moments, your cool moments, and you got to weather those highs, those ebbs and flows. And you got to weather those cool moments where you got to sit and be like, you know, I might not be as popular as I was, because it is a changing game. It's always evolving. It's also a young man's game, where when we were younger, we dictated what was hot. Like now, you got a whole nother wave of youngsters. But I feel that I've carved out my place to where I can still contribute, and not only just contribute, but contribute at a high level. And like you said, like when you say it's one of my most personal albums, if not my most personal album, I feel like that's the truth, because I wrote a lot of it during COVID. You know what I'm saying? Like being in the house, being around my kids a lot, watching a lot of social unrest. And then also balancing a lot of feelings towards a lot of stuff, man, whether it be being Black in America, police brutality, just all those things, being a father, providing for your kids, watching, like one of the biggest things that really kind of I've been dealing with a lot in terms of even my own mentality is like watching a lot of young rappers die, like getting killed. Because I know what I worked hard to achieve, and I watch young cats that are 19, 20, 22, 23 that are popping. They've worked hard to get out of the ghetto or achieve something, and then only to be gunned down. When you look at like King Von or Pop Smoke or Lil Dude Briss, or even some of the homies from Portland, you know what I'm saying? Like the homie Bug, you know, like a lot of stuff is frustrating, because it's like you see all this civil and social unrest, whether it be police brutality, people getting killed, racial unrest, and then you see like young people that have worked to kind of escape certain environments to die the same way. You know what I mean? But you dying with a neck full of jewelry, a pocket full of money. You got 3, 4 foreign cars in your garage, but you dead just like anybody else.
Yeah. I think
and
that.
Sorry.
No, I was just saying, you have a song on there, man, with the title's, you know, $1 Million Dead Ninja. You know what I mean? And, I think that kind of ties into that.
Well, that's what that song was. That's what that song is built. That's the whole point of that song is you're $1 million dead nigga. It don't matter. You feel me? Like you could achieve everything you want. You could have millions of dollars in the bank. You could have all the cars, all the women, all the jewelry, a packed arena, but you just dead.
Yeah.
And it don't matter. You dead. You know what I mean? Like you ain't coming back. You feel me? So that's what that song, like, those are like, I sat down after watching, and then also watching like in the diss culture of music, watching rappers disrespect the dead, rap about the dead. Man. You know, it's just a crazy time, man. And that's what that whole album was fueled by. Just like Jumpstart. Like Jumpstart wasn't on the album at first. I recorded Jumpstart like December 28th. because I wanted to put something out on New Year's. So I recorded Jumpstart, and it's talking about giving cats they roses and giving people they props while they alive versus waiting till they dead. And you know what I'm saying? And even specifically for people in Portland doing great things, whether it's a food cart, fashion industry, music, whatever. Like, then I listened to that song, and I'm like, the album was done. I'm like, boom, I got to put that on the album. So that's why it's at the beginning of the album, because it's a great way to start the album. And then it goes, into everything else that is the body of the album.
I got you. That makes sense. That makes me think of something earlier in the year. They had all the versus battles during COVID. You know, everybody's going over their careers. And I remember when Jeezy and Gucci Mane had theirs, there was a lot of opinions on how people conducted themselves during it and this and that. But you had said, though, man, that this was a big deal for cats that had gotten to a point where, where they were literally trying to kill each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're at a point now when you could put them in on the same phone call and it roll out like it did, man. How did that? Can you elaborate on your feelings about that?
I mean, I feel like that was a prominent moment for hip hop because they had so much real beef. I feel like where it went wrong though is when Gucci like dissed his dead homie. Like, I was like, God damn, man! That was also an epic moment for hip hop, because I don't think anybody's seen anything like that where you have to stand up there and stomach it like that. But I feel like that was a real pivotal moment, and it was big for them. But I think, like, also from a street culture perspective, Gucci wasn't gonna let it go. He wasn't gonna be. There was two battles that went on. There was the mainstream industry battle, and then there was the street part of it. And Gucci was the street, Jeezy was the mainstream part. And I think that it could have been even more groundbreaking and more beneficial to unity if Gucci would have been like, nah, man, I'm gonna keep it cool. But I think, some stuff you just can't live with, man. Some stuff you can't. And I respect that as well. That's why I said there was two battles on that stage.
Yeah, I think that's accurate, man. You're talking to a guy that tried to have you killed at some point in your life, and you might not be ready to squash that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I agree. That was an interesting moment, man, for sure.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Real quick before we talk about, and not real quick, excuse me, the cover photo of yours on Failure is a Feeling is from some time ago, and there's somebody on that cover with you. Can you talk about who that is and the significance of that photo?
Man, that was my bro, and I don't want to say my friend. That's my brother, Jason. J9, Jason Eli.
Yeah.
Me and him me and him had a real deep relationship as my friend, as my homie, and a lot of stuff, even from the streets to the hustle to everything. Like, me and him embarked on a lot of stuff together in terms of, like, people that see things the same way, but also just having a close bond, man. Like, and unfortunately he passed away, or he was killed. And but he also did a lot in terms of believing in me, and vice versa, me believing in him. And that's why I say it's my bro, because he one of the first people that showed me, even from a street perspective, of how we together can go make big shit happen. Whether it's get money, being a stand-up nigga, like being a real a real solid dude. A lot of cats ain't real solid across every angle, and he was solid across the board. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like when I titled the album, that picture spoke a lot, because a lot of the times me and him had been through a lot. I watched him hustle through a lot of stuff. I watched him sacrifice a lot of stuff. I watched us go through the same stuff. And even like holding his son over his body when we at the funeral, and his son asking, like, Uncle Cool Nutz, when my dad gonna wake up, and having to see all that. So it was also paying homage to my bro, and you know, and I feel like the music represents that picture. That picture represents the music and everything, because there's so much to that picture.
Yeah.
Like nights, like even like nights on that like the picture on the covers, nights like that, man, where we out on the town, living it up,
yeah,
getting money, having money, you know what I'm saying, and really living a Northeast Portland lifestyle, and being factors and respectable dudes that people talk about, that when you walk in the building, you know, you come in with respect, and people know what it is, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's what that picture represents.
Absolutely.
Swiggle. Dear Portland Police.
You have a song on the record called Dear PPD, Dear Portland Police Department.
Mm-hmm.
How did that song come to fruition? And by that, I mean, obviously, I mean, we know how that song came to fruition, but but the artists that you chose to have on that song are some young cats that I wasn't familiar with, and I would like to see how you chose those artists for that song, man. And if you could talk about your experiences and their experiences, what you know of, man, with the Portland Police and how that came.
Man, they you know, the crazy thing is they actually chose me for that song. They had already had the song. They already had the song, and they had me get on the song, and we shot a video.
Yeah.
And the way the album came together, that song was in line with the way the album came together. So I asked them, can I put the song on the album? And they were like, hell yeah. So when you listen to the album, that song fits. You see how that song fits into the album, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what you call it, and so it was just the perfect way for it to come together. You know, you got JC Cordetta and Swiggle, they brothers. And then my boy Anael is another artist I work with that I got him a verse from Nipsey Hussle. Mm-hmm. And then Cool Chief Rocks, Micah, he was on the train. I don't know if he was on the train when the dude stabbed those people to death on the train. He's the one got his throat slit, but he lived.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so basically you have a coming together of people that have a real deep understanding of police brutality and and growing up in Northeast Portland, man. And when I say, like, you know, it's the typical experience of a young black man being in Northeast Portland, growing up in an urban environment. When the police get behind you, you don't know what's gonna happen. When they pull you over, you get a different level of treatment. When, you know, you wearing a baseball cap, even with license insurance, flipping off your baseball cap. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like it's a typical story. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, all of the current situations of people being killed, you know, at the hands of the police. So it's very representative of current times. I feel like that's the thing about the album. The album touches on so much stuff that's current times that has been talked about, but I feel like I addressed it in a lot of different ways, man, to where I think the message is louder, honestly.
For sure. In your career, man, you put on many shows and been part of a lot of different events. So you actually probably have a lot more contact with the police than people would really think about. And can you talk about, like, what your relationship has been with them, and, like, given the position that you're in, from a guy that's from Northeast Portland, and you came and you're successful and a prominent businessman in the Portland community, and you're doing rap shows, and you have to talk with some of these police sometimes with security situations or whatever it is, and how dealing with them has been. Has it been like a hostile, aggressive situation with the way they talk to you, or how has it been?
You know what's crazy, man, is for me, it's crazy because from a street perspective, I've been treated a certain way by police. From a business perspective, of a lot of the stuff that I did for the community, the police, in terms of what we did, supported it. Like, I think they saw, a lot of them saw what we were doing, saw like Po-Hop, saw some of us coming from the neighborhood and putting out music and doing something different. So at times when we were doing shows, man, early on, we reached out to them. So I would send them a fax to the gang task, to the central precinct, to the police chief's office, the mayor's office, and tell them we're doing the show. We'd love to have y'all there, because that would curb violence.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that would keep shows going, and that would keep the patrons of the show safe.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times, my experience at times, especially with business, was different, because to a certain degree, they at times helped preserve what we were doing within Portland hip hop. You know what I mean? Because we made a proactive effort to reach out to them and put it in front of them. We weren't ducking and dodging them, trying to hide it from them. You know what I'm saying? And you know, but there's always little stuff that happens behind the scenes, or different stuff that occurs that, you know, that can affect the scene, even as it doesn't apply just to me. It applies to other artists, other shows, other things that occur. But I remember one time, and this was a kind of a weird moment, was I was out putting up posters, and it's this dude that would go through the neighborhood, a white dude, older white man, and he would go tear down the posters. And I caught him out there one day tearing down the posters, broad daylight, and we met at a pole, and I kind of got in his way and stopped him from tearing, you know, like, man, stop tearing down my posters. And he would be on a bike. And so the police are coming down the street, and he flags them down. And he's like, this guy is stopping me, because I had the front wheel of his bike between my legs, so he couldn't go nowhere. And he flags down the police, and he's like, this guy is harassing me. And the police pulls up, and they get out their car. And I say to the police officer, I say, man, I'm Cool Nutz. You see the stuff we be doing for the community with the shows and bringing people together. This man has been out here tearing down our posters and stuff like that. And the police officer goes, what? You know, this is Cool Nutz and all the stuff he does. You stop tearing down those damn posters. You know, and it was a white police officer saying it to an older white man. But I think that they saw, you know, like, everybody, like, you can't speak for all police. There's some bad police out there, some good police out there, and there's some middle of the road police out there that could go either way.
Yeah.
But, you know, you have to acknowledge it when you got to acknowledge it. When he could have easily been like, y'all stop putting up these posters for these rap concerts, and, you know, you guys out here in the streets causing mayhem, and he could have easily went that direction. But I was shocked because he stood up for me and chopped this dude up.
Yeah.
Who typically you would think he would go in favor of this dude. So I've just at times had a different relationship, because I think we worked to build a rapport with him, and put it in front of them, the stuff we were doing, put it in front of them that we were giving back, put it in front of them that we were giving opportunities to artists in the community. You know what I'm saying? So, but then you have other instances, like when shows have gotten shut down, you know, when they're calling a venue, telling a venue not to let this show happen, and different stuff like that. So there's both sides of the coin, you know.
Yeah.
And I've seen both sides of the coin, but I've always made it a point, because I knew this was my business, and I knew certain people you had to talk to, or you had to have a relationship with. So I knew I would need to communicate with them, which is what I did, to make sure we had that rapport, that when you try to come to the show, you can't say you didn't know about it. You can't say we tried to sneak it behind your back. No, we sent you a letter and a fax. We asked you to be there, and we're willing to sit down and have a meeting with you, so that we can make sure the people that come to the show are safe. That when people are coming and they're leaving, they're safe. That if somebody wants to come and cause a problem, they're going to have a second thought, because they know that this is a safe environment, because that's what kept the Portland hip hop scene alive, was with some of these bigger shows and some of the stuff we were doing, the lack of violence. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think, given the current climate, that type of relationship is still going to be possible in the foreseeable future?
I believe so, but I think it's different, because there's so much adversity, there's so much conflict, that having the conversation, I think it's a double-edged sword, because the conversations need to be had, but then when you're like, oh, I want to go, if we need to go out these oh, you a sellout, abolish the police, defund the police, rebuke the police, you know what I'm saying? And so it's one of those things where it's a delicate balance to what's happening right now, man. And it's a hard thing to navigate and fight through, because it is like, it's a sensitive and touchy subject because of some of the stuff that's happened, from George Floyd to Breonna Taylor to all of these different instances. You know what I'm saying? It's a hard thing, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot to talk about, man, and we could talk about that for hours. But it is interesting to hear that opinion from you, man, because I've been kind of in the same vein, man. Like, it's not as simple as that. You know, my son isn't the same. Like, he's on that level also. You know what I mean? And I try to tell him sometimes, like, hey, man, you gotta have police in some capacity, man.
Oh, you have to.
Yeah, and
it's unfortunate because it's like I said, it's a weird balance, because if you have a family and you have kids, or you have a wife, say you're out of town and somebody breaks in your house, what do you want your wife to do? You want your wife to call the police. Who are you hoping that would show up to protect your family if you're not around to protect them? You know what I'm saying? If something happened to one of your kids, you know,
who do you want looking for them?
Bro, they got kidnapped or something. You're not gonna call the FBI. The FBI got to come in. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want them to find my kid. Yeah. You know, and as unfortunate as it is the delicate balance of these relationships. There's a need in certain spaces for law enforcement. You know what I'm saying? But there's not a need for certain things that come from law enforcement. Yeah, that's the issue. Certain 100%. Things that occur, certain things that occur as a result of them sometimes not doing their job right is the results of what we get. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. 100%, man. Those are some great points. Let's switch up to you've had a lot of ventures over the years, had your hands in a lot of different things, always working. You've got a new one. Let's talk about Trap Private Reserve. What is that, and how are you involved with that?
I'm one of the owners. So Trap Private Reserve is a venture between myself, Mikey Vegas, Flyboy Mo, and then Spank from Trap Kitchen. It was something that we had always had the vision on. Me and Mikey would talk about it all the time, but we needed to find the right partners and the right people that understood the vision. Yeah. And once we did that, we were able to launch the brand. And the way we look at it is it's an extension of Trap Kitchen, but it's the lifestyle cannabis marketing / delivery side of it that extends into the cannabis world, which gives us the ability to do some creative programming within the cannabis market. So you have the biscuits and gravy, the blueberry biscuits, the pink propane too, the terps and cakes, and just then of course we're launching in California. So now you got the red and blue bandana bags and jars and stuff like that. So it's just been dope because for so many years, again, in another space that we know each other from, for so many years, it wasn't where it is today. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's now it's legal. Now you can, now you can actually operate in a legal means and make money and not be, and have, pounds and pounds and pounds in your car legally that you're taking to a store like records.
Yeah. That's dope, man. I'm happy to see it. But so what's next for you in 2021, man, and moving forward?
Man, I'm gonna drop some more albums. The Me and Maniac album is coming.
Ooh.
The Yak and Nuts, but the album's gonna be called Red and Meth. So like Red Man and Method Man, because I feel like that kind of resembles our relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how me and him are bros like that. Then I got some more signature projects I'm gonna do, like where I do a whole project. I'm gonna do a whole project with this producer, JEB, who produced most of the Failures to Feeling. I'm gonna do a signature project with my guy Tope. I'm gonna do a signature project with Law Spoken. So like just dropping these EPs and keeping shit coming, and even also more visuals and stuff like that. Like I'm gonna shoot probably 3 or 4 visuals off of Failure's The Feeling. I just been busy because it's been super hectic, man. And then of course more Trap Private Reserve, more executive branch management with stuff like Common Slum, DJ Fat Boy, more stuff from Bosco, just a host of shit, man. Just keep on pushing.
Absolutely, man. Well, it's been great chopping it up with you, man. It's been a minute since we talked like this. Never in front of a camera, so it's been kind of cool, kind of surreal, man. Taking it back, and I appreciate you sitting with me, man. And we look forward to seeing what you do next and keeping it moving with you.
No, definitely, bro. I appreciate you, fam.
For sure, man. I'll talk to you soon, bro.
Okay, bro.
All right. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Razor Tongue.